Hello, welcome to another video. I am Rider of Dinosaurs. Today, we got to cover D Marble again. I was going to cover someone else, but I stumbled upon this video, and he's the gift that keeps on giving. Today's title is The States Are Flat, Therefore the Earth is Flat. Flat Earther logic at its best. Enjoy.
You know, if I were some globe believer starting my name with Sci-Man or some washed up hack calling myself a science guy, I really wouldn't like this article.
And I'm sure you got the legitimacy to say anything about science. Check my previous video on D Marble and watch how he manipulates information and videos to fit his narrative.
Let's get into it. Here's an article from The Atlantic. Science. Several U.S. states, led by Florida, are flatter than a pancake. This article's from 2014. Says geographers in Kansas look for the country's plain truths. I like this already.
That is so funny. I didn't think you trusted scientists. And geologists are scientists. Funny that. But hey, I get it. Fits the narrative, right?
In 2003, the Annals of Improbable Research released the results of a study that was not so much groundbreaking as it was ground-battering. Kansas, the tongue-in-cheek analysis found, was flatter than a pancake. The researchers, Mark Fonstad, William Puget, and Brandon Voigt, used polynomial equations to calculate the flatness of the famously flat state and discovered that, as compared to the topography of an IHOP pancake, it was indeed flatter than a flapjack. Their finding was not incorrect, meaning their finding was correct.
Not necessarily. Something not incorrect doesn't mean is 100% correct. It means you're not incorrect about everything.
Parts of Kansas are, in fact, flatter than a pancake.
See what I mean? So parts of Kansas are not as flat as a pancake, while others are. So not totally incorrect.
But the study's focus on Kansas, it turns out, was also misleading because there are states, 6 of them to be specific, that are even flatter than Kansas. The states flatter than a pancake, you could say, could be served in a short stack. This latest flatness finding comes courtesy of geographers at the University of Kansas who just published a paper titled The Flatness of U.S. States in Geographical Review, a peer-reviewed journal published by the American Geographical Society. KU professor Jerome Dobson and his colleague Joshua Campbell, who works at the State Department's Office of the Geographer, conducted a geomorphometric analysis of the contiguous United States, a measure basically of the nation's lumps and bumps. To do that, the pair developed a method of reckoning flatness, creating an algorithm that would allow them to develop a comprehensive estimate of states' relative pancakery. I just love how they're making up words here.
And I love the smuggy smirk you make every time you think you're clever than anyone else.
Their focus was human perception of flatness. Since the point of the study, Dobson told me, was largely to combat public perceptions about Kansas's flatness. Those perceptions translate, he says, to public perceptions about Kansas's boringness. To estimate geographical flatness as perceived by the human eye, Dobson and Campbell put math behind the experience of looking toward the horizon and seeing a rise of land, in their case to the height of a tall tree at a distance of 3 miles. From there, Dobson says, we put together a simulation, one that approximates what you would see if you were standing on one spot and turning around 360 degrees and recording what you see every 16 times as you turn around. Once they developed their algorithm, Dobson and Campbell processed elevation data gathered from NASA.
Did you just say?
From NASA.
From NASA? I'm sorry. I thought you didn't like NASA. Maybe I was wrong.
Looks like NASA's just making stuff up. Kind of pointing out how NASA's just full of crap, but I think most of us already know that. Yeah, you're gonna have to stomach a lot of logical fallacies and coincidences that point to the contrary, that they're actually a legit space agency.
Oh, so this is what you really think about NASA. Funny, isn't it? But let's continue.
Shuttle radar topography mission for the contiguous U.S., 48 states, and the District of Columbia. Why not Alaska and Hawaii? We knew the answer for those well enough. Dobson told me we knew they weren't going to be the flattest. They gridded their findings into 90-meter cells. They then categorized each cell as not flat, flat, flatter, or flattest. It was a lot of computation, Dobson says, because we're measuring every 90 meters or every 300 feet across the country. From there, they compared each state's percentage of flatness and ranked them. The top 10 flattest states, per their results, and ranked according to their total flat, flatter, and flattest designations are...
Before you list the states, let me clarify one thing. You are distorting the meaning of flat, like you do with the word theory. Flat, in this context, means least variation between minimum and maximum elevations within the state's lines.
Florida, Illinois, North Dakota, Louisiana, Minnesota, Delaware, Kansas, Texas, Nevada, and Indiana.
Let's have a quick look and see how flat these states really are. This was just a 5-minute Googling. So he can build factories. But no, he takes one bit of flatness and says the whole world is flat, and that's it. But that's how these people are. They manipulate information, they mold information to fit their narrative, and just ignore everything else. They cherry pick things, and that's not how it's done. But it's funny that they take a study made by the government that they hate so much. They say they're all liars, they're all against knowledge and everything, and they actually use it as proof of a flat earth. You can't have it both ways. Either you don't trust the government or you trust the government. Choose. And we'll leave it at that. If you're interested in seeing his video in full, I'll leave a link in the description.